Hey everybody, real quick before we get into the video, just wanted to mention I screwed up the setup for the hunt, and we still do the hunt, and the things we do are correct, but I forgot. I don't know how I forgot, but I forgot to put the Smog Singer hunt events out on the hunt, and as I was setting up the actual showdown, I realized, oh, these hunt events, there should have been 2 of these in the hunt. So we ended up doing random hunt events instead, and I just completely spaced and didn't put these out there. So sorry about that, but you still get a hunt and things still happen, so good times. Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we're bringing you a gameplay of Kingdom Death Monster. We're using the Gambler's Chest expansion and we're fighting the Smog Singers. Now, this is the first monster I've ever fought in Kingdom Death where you're actually fighting more than one monster. I believe Spidicules maybe has a similar sort of thing going on. I know I've never fought Spidicules. He's got I do own him. I've never fought him. He's got little tiny spiders that run around somehow on the board as well. So I'm not sure exactly how that works, but this is the first multi-monster monster that I have fought. Something interesting with the Smog Singers is that they actually use guilt as a weapon against us because they, I guess, are for the most part defenseless other than their voice, and they're just out there singing, and I feel like perhaps they really are using their voices as weapons intentionally, but I don't know, there's a whole kind of something going on there in the lore that we're not really sure exactly what's happening there, or at least I'm not really sure exactly what's happening there yet, and that's, you know, kind of part of it, is part of the mystery. But for sure the survivors feel guilty the more they wound the Smog Singers. But that's something that we'll deal with when we get into the actual battle. Right now we are on the hunt for them, and you can see we're fighting level 1 Smog Singers, so relatively short hunt here. We're only going to have 3 events as long as the Smog Singers don't back up or something else doesn't happen. Now in the random event deck, we have our random events, which are, you know, the normal roll, the D100, the 10s and the 1s die to get your to get your random event. Also in here though, we have, let's see, we've got Ark Survivor Hunt event. All right, so we'll have a special table we roll on for that. The Ark Survivors, of course, are what the survivors are referred to when you're playing the People of the Dreamkeeper campaign. If you're using their special set, technically you could use Ark Survivors in any of the campaigns, and that brings in things like philosophies and stuff like that. We've also got, let's see, the Scout Hunt event, because we do have our Scout with us now right here. The Scout is what will allow us to, if we die, the Scout brings back our gear, assuming the Scout doesn't die too, because technically speaking, the Scout can get involved in the fight. But we do have a Scout Hunt event specifically for them, so we'll roll on that table and we find them. There's also, though, the Bone Eaters. And so this is a threat that's constantly out there for us while we are on the hunt. You can see this is level 1. This goes all the way up to level 4 eventually, I believe. And so if we pull this card, then we'll have to fight the Bone Eaters. And basically what I'm going to do here is I'll have this all shuffled up, and I'll be drawn from the bottom, because unfortunately you can see there's some pretty significant differences in color, and I just won't look, and I'll draw from the bottom in order to select each one. So that's pretty much it. We'll go over the weaponry and gear for each of our survivors and their philosophies once we get to the showdown. But I figure let's just start with the hunt here real quick and get right into it. All right, so let's see. We've got, yep, it's going to be just a random hunt event. So we've got 0303, Cancer Pigeons. The survivors are surrounded by the echoing coo of infant babble. Strange baby-faced birds circle overhead. Gripped with instinctual horror, the survivors break into a run. Each survivor rolls a d10. All right, let's do that before we see what happens. All right, so we've got Christian gets a 10. Another 10 for Nancy. A 2 for Amos. That's not good. A 5 for Marco. And an 8 for Monica. All right, so that means that Amos is the lowest. Yeah, it says the lowest survivor becomes a straggler. If any survivor has noisy gear, -2 to their roll. Okay, hold on, let's see. No one has noisy gear. Each straggler then rolls a d10. All right, so Amos is rolling 6 for Amos. A cancer pigeon latches onto Amos's back. Shake it free by spending 1 survival. Otherwise, you are dead inside and cannot gain survival. Well, Amos has 3 survival, which is our current max. So yeah, he'll definitely spend the survival to shake it off. Well, that could have been worse. Amos is my best fighter right now, so any threat to him is definitely a worry for me. All right, so let's see. Oh wait, they moved up. All right, and that was technically Christian was moving, so we'll have Nancy be the one moving up into the next space. Oh boy. Arc Survivor. Okay, I have not actually rolled on this hunt table before, so let's see what happens here. All right, it's just it looks like just a regular 1 through 10 table. Got a 6. Practical philosophy. The hunting party reviews their remaining rations. They are shocked to find that some have eaten far more than others. They consider redistributing the rations evenly, or perhaps giving more to the strongest or hungriest among them. Spirited debate erupts. If there's a homicidalist among them, I don't believe there is. I don't even think I have that philosophy. I've got survivalism, lanternism. Those are the only 2 philosophies currently among the survivors. Amos is a survivalist, and Christian is a lanternist. All right. So there's no homicidalist. There's no gourmandist. All right. So instead, nominate 2 survivors with different philosophies. So it's going to be Christian and Amos. They may exchange 1 knowledge, erasing their knowledge and observation ranks, then gaining what the other survivor erased. Oh. If they do, the discussion draws in the entire hunting party. All survivors gain +1 looming. All right, well, let's see. So, Christian had the tenet knowledge, I'm pretty sure, does not count. That's like a core tenet of your philosophy, so I don't think we can mess with that. Light Warrior down here has no... I haven't advanced at all with that yet, so that would make sense. Now, Amos, I've got Despair 2. I definitely wouldn't want to do accuracy training because I'm only 2 notches away from leveling that up. So I could trade off Despair 2, though. And I forgot to give Amos that insanity when he departed. So, yeah, I think we're going to give Christian Avasarala here the Despair 2 and give Amos the Light Warrior. Light Warrior... when you arrive, you gain 1 death token, and you can use an action for +2 strength per death token for the next attack. Roll a d10 A 1 equals consume the death token and then frenzy. Okay. All right. Yeah. So we'll trade those 2 out. And then everybody gets a Lumi. Now, Lumi is not something that my settlement has gotten to the point where they can actually use yet, but it's going to be something that we use for sure later. Oh, and actually, I remember why. So Light Warrior, there's not even an arrow up here, and that's because Light Warrior is in its final form. So it can't even level up at all. So that actually works out really well, switching those 2 out like that. All right, so we got those switched. Everybody gets a Lumi now. So Christian is at 2 Lumi. Nancy has 1. Amos has 2. Marco has 1. And Monica the Scout has 1. Fairly straightforward. All right, 1 more. Let's see what we got. Oh, man, it's another one. Scout. Okay. Ooh, I was really afraid it was gonna be the Death Eaters. They are difficult to fight. All right, so Scout Hunter. I also have never rolled on this table, so y'all are getting a treat here. Let's see. Scout. So again, it looks like a regular D10 table. A 2 makes me nervous. Warning. Breaking ahead, the Scout approaches an outcropping as they draw near. Now, so by the way, technically speaking, I would have had this person move forward. All right. So just in case it requires the Scout or the survivor that we chose to move forward. All right. Breaking ahead, the Scout approaches an outcropping as they draw near. Their blood runs cold as the heart-breaking scene becomes clear. A mass of mangled survivor bodies fused in horrifying configurations lie discarded in the Scout's path. This is unbearable. The Scout suffers 2 brain event damage. So the Scout actually has no insanity to begin with. So they cannot suffer a brain trauma, but they can take the wound there. So and that's where Monica's at now. The Scout must choose to divert the group's path or pass through the grisly scene. If they divert, we'll roll a random hunt event. If we pass through, all other survivors suffer 2 brain event damage, and the Scout gains a random disorder, shouldering the weight of their collective trauma. So basically, is it worth the Scout gaining a disorder and everybody else taking 2 brain event damage? Christian is at 5 insanity. Amos or Nancy is at 4. Amos is at 9. Marco's at 1. So Marco's oh man, but then I don't know. I'm not too worried about Monica taking the disorder. Just because Monica, for the most part, is a bystander in the fights. If we were fighting against the crocodile, I would say for sure we want to roll another random hunt event because the crocodile, we need insanity. I don't feel like I remember these guys being as damaging to our insanity as the croc is. So maybe we can... No, you know what? Let's do it. We're going to roll a random hunt event. We're going to divert. All right. 63. Oh, for sake. Feet. The stone faces ahead are replaced by an expanse of stone feet sprouting from the ground. The survivors walk soul to soul with the feet. If any survivor is insane, they are convinced they have reached the underside of the world. They clutch the ground for dear life, terrified of falling off. Their raucous terror slows survivors and attracts unwanted attention. Roll once on the hunt event table for each insane survivor before moving on the hunt board. If any of these rolls result in feat, ignore it and re-roll. Okay, roll once on the hunt event table for each insane survivor before moving on the hunt event board. Oh, God, okay. So this just turned into, all right, so we've got to roll this again for each of them now. So I should just go through. All right, so we'll start with Christian. She gets 60. Wildfire. A massive wall of flame obstructs the survivors or Christians, obstructs Christian, incinerating the ground. It has destroyed whatever awaited the survivors and left chaos in its wake. Archive all hunt event cards in the next 2 spaces. Place 2, so that doesn't do anything. All right, so we're good there. Let's see. We now for Nancy. 99. Portcullis. The survivors of Nancy approaches a massive portcullis standing in the darkness. It is not attached to anything and does not bar her way. She must choose to walk around it. She may choose to walk around it. If she does, roll again on the hunt event table before moving on the hunt board. If the settlement has a portcullis key, which we don't, all right, so she's got to roll again. 27. Man-stealers. Exhausted, Nancy rests. During her fitful sleep, a small insect approaches undetected. Choose one random male survivor and roll on the table. If there are no male survivors, nothing happens. Well, so this is just for her, so there are no male survivors, so nothing happens. Perfect. All right. So now we are at Amos. 93. Lost survivor. In a hollow between 2 identical rocks, you find a corpse with fabulous hair clutching a book to its chest. If the settlement has pictographs, I think we do. I'm pretty sure we do. We do. We do have pictograph as one of our innovations. So it says, if the settlement has pictographs, the event revealer may read from the book and roll 1d10. Otherwise, the survivors move. Okay, so we're gonna read from the book. Let's go ahead and do that. Can't give up that chance. We got a 10. Page 9. The man escaped, yet never returned. He knew that if he did, it would doom his beloved. He decided it was best for him to fade into memory to protect the few smiles his existence had inspired, gain +1 courage, and the tough and last man standing fighting arts. Now, fighting arts are treated differently for ARC survivors, so give me a moment for me to refresh on how we handle that. But +1 courage for Amos. So that puts him at 1 courage. Okay, yeah. So you can see right here on the survivor sheet, for ARC survivors, you have a maximum of 1 fighting art or secret fighting art. And when you gain 1, instead, we're going to resolve Vaultless to see if we gain it at all. So the 2 possible fighting arts are Tough and Last Man Standing. Let's see which one we want to try to gain first. So Tough is when rolling on a severe injury table, unless you roll a 1, add +1 to the result. This does not include brain trauma. The result cannot exceed 10. And then Last Man Standing, while you are the only survivor on the showdown board, you may not gain bleeding tokens or be knocked down. So let's see. We'll try for Tough first. As you walk, and so this is the Vaultless story event. Here, I'll show you what we're looking at here. So there's the artwork for it. Here's the page. All right, so here we go. As you walk the winding, high-walled thought path, you feel the border approaching. Explore the maze or press through the barrier. If an ARC survivor would gain a fighting art, instead choose to explore the maze or press through. When an ARC survivor gains a secret fighting art, they gain it as normal and suffer +1 systemic pressure or torment in this event. Okay, so we can explore the maze or press through. If we press through, we gain +1 systemic pressure and roll a d10. If we explore the maze, we just roll a d10. It looks like there is a very slight chance we could die for exploring the maze, but that's only if, I think it's only if we roll a 1 2 times in a row. Systemic pressure, by the way, is right here. And that, if I remember correctly, makes me get a -1 to my severe injury rolls. Let me double check that. Yeah. Which would basically make Tough that would cause tough to be a wash. So we're going to explore the maze. Getting 2 1s seems unlikely enough to make it worth it. Got a 5. So 5, you scramble up heaps of experience and impressions. You scramble up heaps of experience and impressions. The fighting art forms your final foothold. It crumbles as you ascend to higher clarity. Gain 1 Lumi. So I don't gain the fighting art. Instead, yeah. No, it would say if I gain the fighting art. So I don't gain the fighting art. I gain 1 Lumi. So that puts Amos at 3. So last man standing. I think, to actually gain this, because if you gain systemic pressure, you don't lose it unless you do something to lose it. Like you have to be told to lose it. I'm gonna explore the maze again, because at least I'm gaining Lumi that way for later. The only way to gain this would be to first gain +1 systemic pressure, and then also roll an 8 or better. I don't know. Should I take a chance? No. I'm gonna explore the maze. Oh my god. Oh god. Okay. Disoriented, meandering the path of your mind, you near an edge. You can feel the answer just on the other side. You need only leap over the yawning mouth at your feet, but you fall short, chewed to pieces. We now have a death tension headache. We have to roll a d10 again. If we get a 1, Amos dies. Woo! Okay, 7. Death of subconscious. Lose all once per lifetime rerolls and skip the next hunt to recover. That doesn't include the hunt I'm currently on, but Amos will have to sit out the one after that. So let me mark that down. Maybe I should have just taken a systemic pressure. So we're currently in Lantern Year 3, so he's got to skip Lantern Year 4. All right, so Amos was the last of the insane survivors because Marco and Monica are both not insane, with just Monica has 0 insanity and Marco only has 1. You gotta have 3 to be insane, so nobody else needs to roll their own hunt event, and we're good. And so now, the next move is to fight. All right, so here is the setup for the showdown. We've got this Smog incense that the Smog singers are focused on. Now, so interestingly enough, you can see they're all focused on that. Still kind of goes to the idea that, oh, you know what? I realized she can actually be there, and that's what we want to do for sure. Okay. Kind of goes to the idea that the Smog singers are minding their own business, and we're attacking them anyway. But the Smog incense terrain, if a survivor moves through this, they suffer monster level damage to their body and roll a d10. On a 6+, they are knocked down coughing. But if we're next to it, we can scavenge it for an action, roll a d10, and then different things can happen here. Some of them good, some of them not so good. Then we've got the ore vein back here. This was a random terrain that was selected. We've got take an action when we're next to it or on it. If carrying a pickaxe, instead roll 2d10 and add the result. We don't have a pickaxe though. And then various things can happen. Actually, the 13+ can't happen. So it's either this 1 through 3 or 4 through 12. Obviously, 13+ requires a pickaxe. We'll probably have our scout deal with the ore there. Now, let's take a look at our loadouts. Well, actually, before we take a look at the loadouts, let's look at some special stuff with the Smog Singers. So the Smog Singers are fighting level 1, so they're going to have 8 basic and 4 advanced cards in their AI deck. They have movement of 6, toughness of 7. And so then these special things down here, we've got Performing Artist, Song cards, Bloody Hands, and Vibration damage. So Performing Artist is this card right here. Just instructs basically how to handle harmony cards. When a harmony card is drawn, each monster performs it one at a time. The monster controller chooses the order. Persistent injuries happen only once. Continue the harmony for the other monsters. The instinct does not cancel the harmony. So most of their AI cards are harmony cards, which means most of the time when you draw an AI card, each monster is going to attack using that card. Now, what I've found in dealing with these, I've fought them once before, and from what I remember of that first fight, it seems like the individual attacks seem slightly maybe weaker than normal, but each of them is going to happen 3 times. And because of that, you can end up getting some serious damage. Now, one of those special things you saw on their basic card there was, or in their reference card, vibration damage. The way vibration damage works is it deals that damage across the board to every one of your hit locations. And so one attack can do significant damage. And that means that, for instance, you know, if all 3 of these were really way down in terms of if I suffered a lot of damage at this point with these, I could potentially end up with a severe injury at all 5 locations from one attack. And so vibration damage, again, it's this thing where the Smog Singers on the surface can seem kind of underpowered until they land one of those hits. And then you get a guy wiped off the board because you got to roll 5 severe injuries. The other things we've got here, every survivor could become a singer, has a song. Every survivor has a song. These are randomly given out. I don't know what song each of them has. It's almost for certain. I think it's for certain. I have not seen all the songs, but every song I've seen so far will get rid of my guilt. But it also has some other sort of effect, usually a somewhat negative effect. And we use our action to flip this over. That gets rid of our guilt tokens most likely, but then something else is going to be in effect at that point. The guilt tokens go on the bloody hands. All right, so there's a survivor status card. Every survivor has this. When you wound the monster, you feel terrible and gain a guilt token. You are only considered guilty while you have 3+ guilt tokens. So likely what will happen is the moment a survivor gets 3 or more guilt tokens, I will then use the song to remove those guilt tokens. It's only going to work one time, usually only one time from what I've seen, but it's just a way to reset those guilt tokens. So, was there anything else? I think, that was everything with the Smog Singers. So now let's take a look at our different survivors. So we've got, let's see, Christian is the gray token up here. I've got these tokens out here to help y'all keep track of who's who. The green is Nancy. The red is Marco. And the blue is Amos. And then our scout survivor here is this one right here, which is pretty easy to pick that one out. That's Monica. All right, so let's look at Christian, what she has. So she has, let me pull this out here where you can just look at it. All right, so we've got the bloody cloth. Everybody's got the bloody cloth. When you depart, gain +1 insanity. You may use this as armor for any hit location. We've got the singing cap. This is some Smog Singer armor. It doesn't do anything right now because obviously we don't have these connected, so it's just giving the 3 armor to the head location. The bloody cloth, by the way, for Christian is on her body right now. So this is the head, this is the body. And then we've got the spinning sword. It's paired, but obviously we only have the 1 right now. 2 speed, 7 strength, 7 accuracy, 3 strength. Gain +2 evasion against ranged attacks for each of your spinning swords. I actually can't remember if they have ranged attacks or not. All right, and then let's take a look at Nancy. All right, again, bloody cloth. For Nancy, the bloody cloth is on her body. We've got the skull helm on her head. Now, this is from the base game, so a lot of you are probably familiar with it, but when you suffer a severe head injury, the skull helm is destroyed. So it is possible. It's the reason why they have that on there is it's fairly simple to get this early in the game, and 3 armor for your head early in the game is pretty high. But if you suffer a severe injury to your head, then this gets shattered. Then we've got the blood glass dagger here. So this 3 speed, 6 accuracy, 0 strength. Honed 3. This has +3 strength until its edge is ruined after wounding a parry or super dense hit location. So I don't think they might have a super dense. I don't believe they have any parry stuff. So we should be pretty good with that, having 3 strength the entire fight. Of course, I say that, and probably the very first thing they're going to do is ruin that wound. Ruin that edge. All right, now let's take a look at Amos, who is sort of our tank right now. So here we've got Amos, and Amos's bloody cloth is on his arms, and then we've got the crimson dress here, which is we got the immortal spin here. Spend movement and action to move 3 spaces forward. Then if you move to 3 spaces, activate a melee weapon with +1 strength for each bleeding token you have. All right, and then we've got the fecal salve up here. When you depart, gain +1 survival, and then of course you can use that to get rid of the priority target token if possible, if you want to, or make yourself not a threat, or make yourself not a threat. You got the Bloodglass Longsword, 2 speed, 6 strength. I'm sorry, 2 speed, 6 accuracy, 0 strength, but you can see it has honed 3 as well, which means that it has 3 strength until the edge is ruined, and it's got reach 2. All right, now you can see also we've got these affinities that we do have locked in. If you have 3+ bleeding tokens, the honed edge cannot be ruined. All right, so a little bleeding protection there. And we've got the Crimson Helm. Mind Lock 1. Spend your action. You now have exactly 1 Mind Lock token. If you suffer brain damage, ignore it and lose 1 Mind Lock token. And then let's move on to Marco. His gear grid is kind of tucked under the board here, so I'm just going to show you. He's got the bloody cloth, all right? And he's definitely the least armored of our people, of our survivors that are fighting, and he's got the spinning sword. You've seen both of those before. And let's see what else. Oh, and then our scout. Our scout, Monica, has the blood pack here. The blood pack, by the way, during the aftermath, if another survivor died from bleeding tokens, archive this, roll 1d10 on a 7+, they live. So a chance of reviving somebody who bled out. Marco's bloody cloth, by the way, is on his head. Now, the other thing we haven't talked about are their abilities, okay? So Christian up here has the grounded ability. She can set her insanity to 0, 1, or 2 once per lantern year. Okay. We've got, by the way, 5 insanity for her. Now, lanternism is her philosophy. All right. And she's got phototaxis, which is the neurosis that comes with lanternism. Fallen lantern cannot spend, if there is a fallen lantern, she cannot spend survival. So what is a fallen lantern? Well, the tenet knowledge that comes with lanternism is Death Collector. Death Collector 1. Dead survivor on the showdown board equals a fallen lantern. If we go and activate the fallen lantern, we'll get a mark here on Death Collector, which means it'll upgrade to Death Collector 2 if we make it out of the showdown. Now, down here for knowledges, so we have, that is our tenet knowledge, and we have these other knowledges as well. All right, so right now she only has 1 other knowledge down here. Light Warrior, or we traded that to Amos, so that's gone. Despair 2. Depart, +1 insanity, and if she gets a brain trauma, we'll gain a tick mark here. And so once she has 3 of those, then Despair 2 will level up to Despair 3. All right, so then Nancy, we've got 4 insanity for Nancy, by the way. And then the only thing going on for her is tenacity. You'll see after this fight, she will gain a philosophy, so then we'll have a lot more stuff going on up here. But only thing going for her right now is tenacity. When she departs, she gains a survival token, and then she can spend the survival token at any time to gain +1 survival. And she has already done that, which is why she has that tick mark there, which means as long as she survives this fight, because she only needs 2 of them, as long as she survives this fight, then tenacity will level up for her. But that's how she got this 1 survival. I really need to find a way to generate some more survival for my guys, because obviously a lot of them are coming in with just a little bit. Christian doesn't have any. All right, then Amos. All right, again, this guy is our guy. So now he does have megalophobia. He may not depart to fight large monsters, which obviously these are not large monsters, but something like the Phoenix, Amos can't go fight the Phoenix. However, he's got survivalism, rank 1. The neurosis is selfish. If he rolls encourage, you have to roll a d10. On a 6+, he does not encourage, and he keeps the survival instead. Tenacity, same thing as before. Depart, gain 1 survival token, and then spend it to gain a survival. He already did that, and so when we get back, assuming he survives, we'll level up tenacity because of him as well. So we have 2 chances to level up tenacity. As long as either Nancy or Amos survives, tenacity will level up. All right, and then other knowledges, Light Warrior. On arrival, he gains a death token. I'm not sure what the death tokens are exactly, if there is a specific one, so I'm going to use this to represent the death token for now. You can spend an action to gain +2 strength per death token for the next attack, and then roll a d10. On 1, he will consume the death token and gain frenzy. But as long as he doesn't roll a 1, then he's going to be able to continue using these death tokens to increase his strength and almost guaranteed to wound these guys at this point, because again, their toughness is only 7. And then accuracy training, you can see we're getting close to completing this one. On a hit, gain 1, all right? You can do this once per attack. So as long as he hits twice on 2 different attacks during this fight, we'll level up accuracy training as well. All right, then we've got Marco here. Marco with 1 insanity and 1 survival. Death Poet is the knowledge that Marco has. Suffer brain trauma and gain 1 strength token. So if he suffers a brain trauma, he'll gain a strength token. And every time he suffers brain trauma, we mark the track here. After 2 brain traumas, Death Poet will level up. And finally, Monica over here, the scout, has tenacity. Again, another chance to level up tenacity. So as long as Amos, Monica, or Nancy makes it home, tenacity will level up. Okay, so now we've completed the hunt, albeit a little bit of a unusual hunt, not quite what it should have been for the Smog Singers. We now have the battle board, the showdown board set up. We've got all of our gear ready to go. Smog Singers are ready to go, and now we're gonna have this showdown. So be sure to come back for the next video where we will complete the showdown and have this knockdown drag out between these very peaceful Smog Singers who only want to be left alone, but we are not going to leave them alone because their singing hurts our ears really bad. It really is that simple. Their singing hurts our ears, and that we need them to stop. We really need them to stop. Also, they have some awesome gear, and we'd really like that too. So appreciate y'all watching. Be sure to come back for part 2. Be sure to check out my Twitch channel where I am currently playing Cyberpunk 2077 as well as Valheim. You can find the link for that in the description below. And until next time, if you're bored online, bored offline.